How's it going, everybody? Welcome to my Week 13 prediction show. This week is special, of course. We have a lot of football, full slate of games. No teams on a bye this week. We have football on Thursday for Thanksgiving. We have a football game on Black Friday. And, of course, we have a full slate of games on Sunday. And then, of course, Monday night. So 4 out of the next 5 days. A lot of football. A lot of football. Of course, I hope that you're able to spend the holiday with your friends and family and those that you love. I hope you have a very blessed Thanksgiving, and hope you eat a lot of food. A lot of really good food. So, of course, like I said, full slate of games. Let's jump right into this. Of course, let's start with my record for last week. Last week I went 10-4, so pretty good. Gives me an overall record of 118-59 on the season. Couple more things. 3 games went into overtime. All seemed to be all at the same time on Sunday. And, of course, 2 upsets. I do want to note the Texans took down the Bills on Thursday Night Football in those sweet battle red unis. And the Cowboys came back and beat the Eagles. That was fun. I was not a fan of that. Overcame a 21-point deficit to take down the Eagles. So, good for them. Really happy about that. I like it when the Cowboys win. I'm just kidding. No, I don't. That was sarcasm. All right, let's get right into it. Starting on Thanksgiving. 3 games on Thanksgiving. Starting, of course, with the Green Bay Packers heading to Detroit to take on the Blue Kitties. The Packers coming off a victory against the purple incarnation of Satan on Sunday. An absolutely dominating performance by the Packers in this game. Jordan Love, dealing with a shoulder injury. You could tell it was affecting him a little bit. He was handing off the ball to Emmanuel Wilson using his throwing arm. But he did good. He was a good game manager. Jordan was 14 for 21, 134 yards. He was sacked just once. No touchdown passes, no interceptions. He had a couple of good throws when it mattered on third down, or when he gets under pressure. He had a lot of good throws. Good game manager this weekend for Jordan Love. Emmanuel Wilson coming into the game, making his first NFL start. Filling in for Josh Jacobs, who was dealing with a knee injury. And Emmanuel Wilson did spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. You couldn't have asked for really anything better from him. He had 28 rush attempts, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This was the first time this season that the Green Bay Packers had a rusher of over 100 yards. Josh Jacobs hasn't even done it this year. So, big shout out to Emmanuel Wilson, a key piece for the Green Bay Packers in this victory on Sunday. Christian Watson led the team in receiving yards. He had 5 receptions for 49 yards. The main statement for the Packers, the big shining light for the Green Bay Packers, of course, was the defense. 5 sacks, 3 turnovers. Constant pressure. The Packers defense, this is the championship defense that we like to see and that Packer fans have seen glimpses of all season. Of course, this was probably the best defensive performance since week 1 and 2. So, big shout out to the defense. Like I said, 5 sacks. Micah Parsons had 2 sacks. Devontae Wyatt had a sack. McDuffie and Brinson, they combined for a sack. McDuffie, he had an interception, a ball that was kind of thrown off a little bit because Rashawn Gary was able to get around McCarthy and kind of hit his arm and send the ball directly to Isaiah McDuffie. And then, of course, Evan Williams, another interception for him to kind of seal the game. The Packers had already won, but just kind of put the final nail in the coffin for the Packers. Anthony Belton came in at right guard in place of Jordan Morgan. and he did exquisite. He was great. I love to see that. I hope I continue to see that on Thursday against the Blue Kitties. Couple other notes. Of course, like I said, no Josh Jacobs, no Quay Walker. Lucas Van Ness came in this game for a little bit. I think he played 6 or 7 snaps. Went out, said he wasn't really feeling it. Keyshawn Nixon went down in this game. I think he's probably going to be doubtful for Thursday with a neck injury. He ran into Devontae Wyatt on the sideline, so that's not great. But Hayden came in and played very, very well in his stead. Kamal Hayden came in. He'd only played 24 previous snaps on special teams and hadn't taken any on defense. Comes in, does a very, very good job, so shout out to him. And they're, of course, going up against the Blue Kitties, who are coming off a very close overtime victory against the New York Giants. Jared Goff, he was 28 of 42, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. Gibbs, of course, continuing to be an absolute stud. He ran the ball 15 times for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 11 receptions for 123 yards. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. I'm sorry. He had 11 receptions on 12 targets for 45 yards and a touchdown. So Gibbs, obviously the player of the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he led the team in receiving yards, 9 receptions, 149 yards, and a touchdown. They had an interception. Aiden Hutchinson, he had a sack. It was a game-sealing sack on 4th down and overtime on Jameis Winston. The Lions, 5 of 12 on 3rd down. Obviously better than they were on Sunday night against the Eagles. And a total of 9 penalties. Of course, the keys to this game for the Green Bay Packers is getting pressure on Jared Goff. The Eagles were able to do it. The Giants, for the most part, were able to do it. And you can tell when Jared Goff begins to look uncomfortable once he gets under a lot of that pressure. Of course, the Lions' O-line is a very good O-line. I don't think they're as good as they were last year, but they're still very, very good. Penei Sewell is a stud. But the Packers are able to pressure Jared Goff and limit the run game like they did in Week 1. The Green Bay Packers allowed very minimal amount of yards in Week 1, and they dominated the game. So if this pass rush can get to Jared Goff, they can really limit the run game. I think the Packers can win. If they win the toss, go out there, score quick, and take control of this game early, because the Lions, of course, are not a team that are going to lay down. Of course, I think the Lions are going to try to bring heavy pressure against Jordan Love. The Giants did a good job of it. The Eagles did a very good job of it. And of course, the Vikings blitz more than any team in the NFL, and Jordan was under a lot of pressure. He did a very good job. But if the Blue Kitties are able to get pressure on Jordan, it's not going to be good. So the Packers got to go out there, put pressure on Jared Goff, limit the run game, and score early and score a lot. Gonna have to keep up with this Lions team, because if you can't limit the run game and you can't put pressure on Goff, you're gonna need to score like 40 points to be able to beat the Blue Kitties. And this is a pivotal game. We're getting late in the season. The Packers and the Lions are both in 2nd and 3rd, both of course behind the Bears. The Packers got to win this game. I think this is a must-win, because of course then they have to play the Bears twice yet after this game. So I think this is a must-win for both teams. Of course, I'm going to go with the Packers here. I think the Packers are going to be able to get pressure on Goff and be able to get this game, get business done, and get another turkey leg for Jordan. I think it'll be a close game, though. So I don't expect the Packers to go out there and blow them out, but I'd like to see that. But I'm taking the Packers over the Blue Kitties. All right, then we are going to Jerry World for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys. The Chiefs coming off an overtime victory against the Indianapolis Colts. Patrick Mahomes, 29-46, 352 yards. No touchdown passes. He also had an interception, and he was sacked 4 times. Kareem Hunt, 30 attempts, 104 yards, 1 touchdown. He also fumbled the ball once. Rashee Rice led the team in yards. He had 8 receptions, 141 yards. Xavier Worthy, 4 receptions, 59 yards. 11-point rally in the fourth quarter for this Chiefs team. They did not play very well in the first half, but they played a heck of a lot better in the second half. They were able to limit Jonathan Taylor, and that Chiefs defense was good on Sunday. The Chiefs is still the Chiefs. I don't know why anybody's still counting them out. They're sitting at 6-5. I think the Chiefs is still the Chiefs. They're still a team to be reckoned with. I don't think they win the AFC West this year. I think that's going to belong to the Broncos. But the Chiefs can certainly get into the playoffs in a wild card. If they get into the playoffs, the Chiefs are probably going to do what the Chiefs have been doing for years. They have a lot of experience, and they can win a lot of those really tough games. But they got a test. I honestly think this is going to be a test. They're going to be taking on the Cowboys, who are riding high after a 21-point comeback, scoring 24 unanswered points against their arch-rival Eagles. Dak Prescott, 23 of 36, 354 yards, 2 tutties, 1 interception. He also had 1 rushing touchdown late in that game, and he was sacked only once. Williams, 20 attempts, 87 yards on the ground. George Pickens led the team again. This dude is a weapon, man. The Cowboys got to lock this guy down for the foreseeable future. He had 9 receptions, 141 yards, and a tutty. CeeDee Lamb, he had 4 receptions on 11 targets, 75 yards, no touchdowns. He should have had a touchdown and near the back of the end zone. Dak put the ball right in the breadbasket and went right through his arms. He was unable to snag it. Let's see here. They did have 2 fumble recoveries. And then Span Ford had a rushing touchdown. Of course, 2 fumble recoveries in key points in the game. Saquon fumbled it, and then the Eagles punt returner, he also fumbled it. So key plays for the Cowboys was able to get them over the hump and take down the Eagles. This should be a good game. It really, really should. I'm going to go with the Cowboys here, only because I think that they have enough momentum coming off this game. I think their defenses are playing a lot better. If they can make Mahomes uncomfortable and turn the ball over just a couple times, I think they can take down the Chiefs. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys in Jerry World. Then, of course, wrapping up our Thursday night Thanksgiving Day football, we have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals coming off a close loss to the Pats. Game was a lot closer than what I thought it was going to be. Their defense played a lot better than I thought they would. Joe Flacco doing, I think, really kind of the best he could without Jamar Chase. Of course, Jamar Chase was suspended for spitting on Jalen Ramsey. T. Higgins went down during this game. It does not look like Higgins is going to be able to play in this game, but they should have Jamar Chase back. Joe Flacco, 19-37, 183 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He was sacked just 1 time. Chase Brown, 14 attempts, 107 yards. I'm going to butcher this name, but Iosivas, Iosivas. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. But he led the team with 4 receptions, 61 yards. Tinsley, 1 receiving touchdown. Stone had a pick 6 in this game. And on 3rd down, the Bengals struggled as they kind of had all season. They were 3 of 13 in this game. Interesting thing going on. Joe Burrow is expected to start, so we'll see Joe Burrow for the first time since, what, week 2 or 3? So, looking forward to seeing him play. I'm kind of surprised he's coming back this soon, especially in the predicament that the Bengals are in. Of course, they're not eliminated from playoff contention, but they're pretty close. But they seem to think they still have a shot at something, so Joe Burrow is coming in. We'll see how he performs. I'm excited to see him out there. They're going to be taking on the Ravens, of course, their divisional rival. The Ravens coming off a close, kind of a sloppy game against the Jets, but a win nonetheless. Their 5th straight win. They are now leading the AFC North, which is crazy. Lamar Jackson, 13 of 23, 153 yards. He had only 11 rushing yards on the game. No touchdown passes, no interceptions, sacked just once. King Henry led the team in rush yards, 21 attempts, 64 yards, 2 tutties. Zay Flowers led the team in receiving yards, 5 receptions for 58 yards. Tampa, he had an interception. Murphy had a forced fumble. 3 sacks for the defense, 2 of 11 on third. Like to see that cleaned up. That's not great. 2 of 5 in the red zone. So, of course, got to get down there, got to score. This game shouldn't have been as close as what it looked like. And, of course, like I said earlier, they now lead the AFC North on a 5-game winning streak. I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think that the Ravens are going to be able to, I think the Ravens run the ball better. I do expect Lamar Jackson to play better. The defense, I think, is better than the Bengals defense. Of course, it's a divisional game, and of course it's a divisional game in the AFC North, which is always kind of a coin flip, of course. And then Joe Burrow. I don't expect him to come out, guns a-blazing right out of an injury. He could. I could be completely wrong. He could. And I hope he comes out and I hope he plays well. But I think it's going to take a game or two for him to get in the rhythm. Of course, being without Higgins, but of course he'll have Jamar back. I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think it's going to be a close game in Baltimore, but should be a good one, and I'm going to go with the Ravens. All right. Then we get to our Black Friday game, because why not? Why not have a game on Black Friday? And I think this is on Prime only, so if you don't have that, you can't really watch it. We got the Bears taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. At the beginning of the season, we looked at this game saying, it's a Black Friday game against the Bears and the Eagles. That should be boring as hell, but it's not going to be. We have both of these teams sitting at 8-3. 8-3. The Bears coming off a close victory against the Steelers, mainly because, of course, Aaron didn't play. He had a small fracture in his left wrist. He did not play. Mason Rudolph played in his stead. I think if Aaron would have played, it would have been a lot different, but I digress. Caleb Williams, he played very, very well, as he has the last couple weeks. He was 14 of 35, so the completion percentage not great. 239 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was only sacked once. Manungai, he had 12 attempts for 48 yards and a touchdown. DJ Moore, 5 receptions, 64 yards, 2 tutties. Romo Dunze contributed with 53 yards. The tight end Loveland, he had a touchdown. Of course, Loveland had a touchdown the week I didn't play him in fantasy, so thanks, Loveland. I appreciate that. Wright, he had an interception, another interception for the Bears. Fumble recovery. This is now the Bears' 4th straight victory, so that's cool. That's great. Of course, when the Vikings play like crap, the Lions are good, but they're not as good as they were last year, and the Packers are playing well. Of course, can't just have all nice things. Now the Bears got to be good too. But the Bears are getting out of a lot of these close games, and they're winning them. The black magic that the Chiefs had last season, for some reason, got sent to the Bears. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of it. But I I know, of course, as a Packer fan, I have a bias. I don't like the Bears, but I got to give credit where credit's due, and the Bears are playing very, very well. And they're getting out of these close games, and they're finding ways to win. I don't like it, but they are. They're finding ways to win, and I got to give them credit. They're going to be taking on an Eagles team who is coming off a absolute collapse against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. Jalen Hurts, 27 of 34, 289 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 sack. He led the team in rush yards with 33, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, 10 attempts, 22 yards, and 1 fumble. That fumble was late in the game in a pivotal moment. Looked like the Eagles were going to be able to start getting into, be able to go and score, but lost the ball. A.J. Brown, he led the team in receiving yards, 8 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae Smith, 6 receptions, 89 yards. Gibson, he had the fumbled punt that I talked about earlier. That was recovered by the long snapper for the Dallas Cowboys that put the Cowboys right near the goal line. Of course, they didn't score there. That was the drive that ended in CeeDee Lamb not catching it, and then they got down to they had another pass went to the goal line, didn't get it, but whatever. Blankenship, he had an interception. He only got to Dak once. And of course, blowing a 21-point lead. Not great. I don't understand this Eagles team. They have weeks where they play really, really well, and weeks where they play really, really bad. But this offense is nowhere near what it was last season. Of course, we saw that against the Packers. We saw that against the Blue Kitties. And we saw it this weekend against the Cowboys. They went out to a 21-point lead, and they didn't do anything after that. And the Cowboys gave them plenty of chances. They just couldn't do it. And then of course 14 total accepted penalties. What are they doing here? You can't have that. You can't have that. It's amazing that was 24-21. Amazing. This is gonna be a good game. If the Eagles defense can play as elite as they have, if we see the Eagles defense from the game against the Packers and the Blue Kitties, the Eagles will win this game. Because it seems that the Bears' luck has to run out at some point. Of course, the Bears are put into situations where they look like crap. Of course, Caleb doesn't have the best completion percentage. Their defense is playing okay for the most part. If this Eagles defense is elite Eagles defense comes out on Friday night, they should beat the Bears. And I think that if they can get Saquon going, they should be able to win and then pick off Caleb a couple times. Make him comfortable. Of course, this Eagles pass rush is very, very good, but Caleb is elusive. He is elusive. This guy should go down probably 3-4 times a week. He only goes down once or never. So I'm going to go with the Eagles here. It'll be a close game, but like I said, if they can get to Caleb and if they can put up some points, they can win. I hope they do, because I really don't want to possibly see the Bears as the number 1 seed. That'd really suck. So I'm going to go with the Eagles here. I think they can get it done. All right. Then we get into our Sunday games. All right. And we're going to start with the Rams and the Panthers. The Rams coming off a blowout victory against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, 34-7. Matthew Stafford, 25 of 35, 273 yards, 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions. So streak for 8 weeks now with no interceptions. He now has 25 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. Sacked only once. Kyren Williams, 12 attempts, 46 yards on the ground. Puka Nacua led the team in receiving yards, 7 receptions, 97 yards. Devontae Adams, 5 receptions, 62 yards, 2 tutties for the best wide receiver in the NFL. Parkinson, he also had a receiving touchdown. Durant, a pick 6 in this game. Forbes had an interception. Let's see here. Turner and Verse, both 2 sacks each. Their 6th straight victory, and now with that victory, because the Eagles lost and the Rams won, the Rams currently hold the number 1 seed in the NFC. And if they continue to play like they are, they will hold that. They will hold that seed. And they're going to be taking on a Panthers team who is coming off a tough loss to the Niners on Monday Night Football just yesterday. Bryce Young, 18 for 24, 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and he was sacked just once. Rico Dowdle led the team in receiving yards and rushing yards. Rushing yards, he had 38 rushing yards and 36 receiving yards on 4 receptions. McMillan, 2 receptions, 35 yards, and a tutty. Etienne, 1 fumble. Horn had 2 interceptions. Jackson had an interception, 3 in total for this Panthers defense. They were 1 of 7 on 3rd down, so that's not great. And 0 for 2 in the red zone. They also have a problem with punching other men in the private areas. So that's not good. Let's not do that. The Panthers had a prime opportunity here because have a prime opportunity now because the Buccaneers seem to be on a skid and they're only, a half game behind them. So if the Panthers can get a couple dubs here, Panthers, just like we thought, Panthers might win the NFC South. I'm just saying. But they're going to be taking on this Rams team that is hotter than hot, playing arguably the best quarterback in the NFL right now in Matthew Stafford. If the Rams can just contain Dowdle, the Rams should win this game. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. Of course, every time I say that, the team I say that is going to blow out the other team, they always seem to lose for some reason. But kind of confident in this one. I do think the Rams go into Carolina and get an easy victory on the road. All right, then we have the Niners and the Browns. The Niners, like it is said, coming off a victory on Monday Night Football at home against the Panthers. Brock Purdy, 23 of 32, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. CMC led the team in rushing yards, 24 attempts, 89 yards, and a rushing touchdown. George Kittle led the team in receiving yards, 78 receiving yards, on 6 receptions. CMC, 7 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. No touchdown, I'm sorry. Jennings had the other receiving touchdown. And Brown, he had 2 interceptions. They're going to be taking on a Browns team who is coming off a win. Coming off a pretty convincing win against the Raiders. Granted, the Raiders are probably the worst team in the NFL. But, nonetheless, it's a win. Shedeur Sanders got his first ever NFL start, so congratulations to him. He was 11 for 20, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception in his NFL starting debut. Judkins, 16 attempts on the ground for 42 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sampson, 2 receptions, 54 yards and a tutty. Jerry Jeudy had a fumble in this game, which, that's normal. And then Myles Garrett. What a stud. What a stud. 3 sacks for Myles Garrett, 2 forced fumbles. He now has 18 sacks on the year, only 4.5 away, or 5 away from breaking the single-season sack record held by Michael Strahan and T.J. Watt. 10 sacks total in this game for this Browns defense. That's not in, write that down wrong. 10 sacks. Of course, 3 going to Myles Garrett. Collins had 2.5 sacks. Thomas had a sack. Baker, Harris, Hall Jr. all at half a sack. And Bush and McGuire had 1 sack each. So 10 total sacks for this Browns team. This should be a fun game. I do think I'll say this here. I do think Myles Garrett is gonna pass the sacking record this year. I don't know if he gets any this week. I'm gonna go with the Niners here, but if they can get to Purdy, make him a little uncomfortable, they might be able to keep this game close enough for Sanders to be able to try to score a couple times, because it does seem that Sanders might get the start. Not sure here. I have to see if Dillon Gabriel is ready to go. Of course, he's dealing with a concussion. I'm going to go with the Niners here, but I think this game might be closer than what everyone is going to be thinking. So I'm going to go with the Niners here. All right, then we have the Houston Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Little AFC South divisional matchup here. The Texans coming off a upset victory against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football in those sweet battle red unis. Davis Mills, he was 16 of 30, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marks, 16 attempts for 74 yards. Collins, 3 receptions, 56 yards. That led the team. Kirk, he had 5 receptions, 54 yards, and a tutty. Higgins also had a tutty in this game. Reed had a fumble recovery. Bullock, he had 2 interceptions and a forced fumble. 8 total sacks for this Texans defense. Getting to Josh Allen is not easy, and they did it 8 times. Anderson Jr., he had 2.5. Hunter had 2. Tutu, he had 1 sack. Settle and Barrett, they had a sack each, and Edwards, half a sack. The only kind of really bad thing about this team here, this performance, 2 of 12 on third down. Got to tighten that up a little bit. I'm unsure if C.J. Stroud is going to return for this game. I haven't seen anything. Of course, it's only Tuesday. I'm filming this on Tuesday night this week. So could have more stuff coming out later on in the week. But hopefully Stroud returns soon. Maybe this offense could work a little bit better. They're going to be taking on the Colts, who they're coming off a close OT loss to the Chiefs. Daniel Jones, 19 of 31, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor held to only 58 yards on 16 attempts. That was the key to this game for the Chiefs. The Colts, for some reason, in the fourth quarter, they got away from running the ball. I don't understand that. Let's see here. Pittman, he had 5 receptions, 27 yards, and a touchdown. Ogletree, 1 touchdown. Latu, he had 1 interception and a sack. 4 total sacks for this Indianapolis Colts defense. 5 of 13 on third down, 11 penalties. Of course, 11 penalties, that's not great. That's not how you want to run the team. And of course, that made a difference in this matchup. I think if only the Colts had ran the ball a little bit more, I think they would have beaten the Chiefs. But of course, Arrowhead is a tough place to play. And the Chiefs are a tough team to beat. So I'm not going to penalize the Colts too much here. I am going to pick them to get a bounce-back victory against the Houston Texans. I don't necessarily think if Stroud plays that's going to make a difference. That wouldn't sway my selection either way. I do expect Jonathan Taylor to have bounce back. I still think he should be in the MVP conversation. 1 bad game doesn't eliminate that for me. So I'm going to go with the Colts to get the win here against the Texans. All right, then we have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Saints coming off a loss to the Falcons. Tyler Shough, he was 30 of 43, 243 yards, no touchdown passes, 1 interception. He fumbled the ball once, and he was sacked 5 times. Shough also led the team in rushing yards. 22 rushing yards and 7 attempts. Chris Olave, 9 receptions, 70 yards. Reed, he had an interception in this game, 3 sacks for the defense, and 5 of 16 on third down, and 2 of 5 on fourth down. I think also Kamara got hurt in this game. They just got diced up by Cousins. I think that's really it here. The Saints, of course, have struggled all season. I wasn't really surprised that they lost this game. Is Tyler Shough the guy? I don't know. I think you got to give him more time to figure that out. Of course, they're 2-9. I don't think they're not gonna do anything this year. So I think you just evaluate Shough, and I think that's all you can really do at this particular point in time. They're going to be taking on the Finns, who are coming off a much-needed bye. The last time we saw the Finns, it was a game-winning field goal against the Commies in Madrid. In that game, Tua was 14 of 20, 171 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Devin Achane was 20. He had 21 attempts for 120 yards. Jalen Waddle, 3 receptions for 52 yards. Gordon, he had a rushing touchdown. Jones had an interception. Brooks, he had 10 tackles, so that's cool. 3 of 9 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down, and then of course Parters. I think I wrote that down wrong. Sorry. Game-winning field goal. I'm going to go with the Finns here. Coming off a bye, playing a struggling Saints team who are trying to find themselves. I don't know. The Finns are hard to kind of gauge right now. They have weeks where they play really, really good now, and then they don't. So I don't know what Finns team is going to show up. I think even one of the lowest Finns team might be able to beat the Saints. So I'm going to roll with the Finns here to get the dub. Then we have the Falcons taking on the Jets. The Falcons, like I said, coming off a victory over their divisional rival Saints. Ending their 5-game losing streak. So congratulations, Atlanta. Finally getting back in that win column. Kirk Cousins, Kirk O'Chains, 16 of 23, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. Bijan, he had 14 attempts for 70 yards. Algier, 12 attempts, 44 yards. Mooney, 3 receptions, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Sills had a touchdown. Watts, an interception, 5 sacks on Tyler Shough, 3 of 12 on third down, not great. 1 of 1 on fourth, 9 penalties for 82 yards. Falcons taking on a division rival, a beat up division rival. I'm not surprised that the Falcons got the job done. Hopefully they can now maybe stack a couple wins here. With the way the NFC South is going, I really don't think the Falcons are out of the discussion when it comes to possibly winning the NFC South. I don't think they will, but certainly with the Bucs kind of collapsing right now and the Panthers playing better than normal, they might still have a shot here. They're going to be taking on the Jets, who of course are one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Jets coming off a loss to the Ravens. Tyrod Taylor coming in, starting now. Justin Fields is now on the bench. He was 17 of 28, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 3 times. Breece Hall, 16 attempts, 44 yards, 4 receptions, 75 yards. He did fumble the ball once. Mechie, he had 6 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Briggs had a sack in this game, 4 of 11 on third down, and 0 for 2 on fourth down. I really don't have much to say about the Jets. Of course, ever since they traded Sauce and Quinnen Williams, the writing was on the wall that they kind of, I don't think, care anymore. So Aaron Glenn hopefully can maybe get something, start to put something together to end this season. But I'm going to go with the Falcons here. Should be an easy win for the Falcons as the Jets continue to collapse. All right, and then we have the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Bucks. The Cardinals, a close game, an overtime loss to the Jags. They played a lot better than what I thought they would. Jacoby Brissett, 33 of 49, 317 yards, 1 touchdown, sacked 6 times in this game. Carter, he had 5 attempts for 28 yards on the ground. That was their highest rusher. So a lot through the air for the Cardinals this week. Knight, he had a rushing touchdown. Wilson, 10 receptions on 15 targets for 118 yards. Dortch, he had 6 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. The Arizona defense got 3 interceptions, 3 sacks, but are now with this loss sitting at 3 straight losses. I continue to think that Jacoby Brissett runs this offense far better than Kyler Murray can, or at least Kyler Murray has shown he can. They just get into these close games. Unfortunately, they were just unable to get the job done against the Jaguars, who we'll get into the Jags next year. But I don't think the Jags didn't do anything crazy either. But the Cardinals, good opportunity here for maybe a little bit of a bounce back game. We'll be taking on the Bucks, who got absolutely demolished by the Rams on Sunday Night Football. Baker Mayfield, he was 9 of 19 for 48 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, sacked twice. He left the game there at the end of the first half. Tried a Hail Mary but at the end there, threw it, and then went right down on his shoulder. It's some sort of sprain, I believe. I think they're optimistic that he might be able to play on Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be able to. They're optimistic. But in his stead will be Teddy Bridgewater if Baker can't go. Teddy played 1 half. He was 8 of 15, 62 yards, sacked twice, no touchdowns, no picks. Tucker, he led the team on the ground. 12 attempts, 47 yards. Igbuka, 3 receptions, 32 yards. Johnson, he had 3 receptions, 21 yards, and a touchdown. 7 of 17 on 3rd down. 1 for 5 on 4th down. But now 3 straight losses for this Buccaneers team, who at the beginning of the season, we were sitting here talking about how Baker was baking, and he was in the MVP conversation, but yeah, 3 tough losses: the Patriots, the Bills, and now the Rams. We knew this was a tough stretch for the Bucs. We'll see if Baker plays. I'm going to go with the Cardinals here, only because, like I said, I'm filming this on Tuesday night because I got holiday stuff starting tomorrow. I got work and the holiday stuff starting tomorrow. So I'm filming this on Tuesday night. As of right now, it looks like it's Teddy Bridgewater. I'm going to roll with that. I'm going to go with the Cardinals here. I think it'll be a close game. But if the Cardinals go up against Teddy, I think Brissett's better. So I'm going to go with the Cards here to get the dub. Then, like we said, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Tennessee Titans. Jaguars, of course, with that win and in overtime against the Cardinals. T-Law, 18 of 30, 256, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, sacked 3 times. He also had 1 fumble. ETN, 15 attempts for 86 yards. Strange, 5 receptions, 93 yards. Washington, 5 receptions, 71 yards, and a tutty. Myers and ETN, both a reception touchdown each. 6 sacks on the Cardinals. 3 of 11 on 3rd down, and now back-to-back victories for the Jaguars. The Jaguars, of course, it seems like they play well, but then there's also a lot of crap in there, too. Obviously, 3 touchdowns is great, but 3 interceptions isn't great either. The Jags should have won this game way before overtime. And they're going to be, but they have a good opportunity here to continue this win streak because they're going up against the Titans. The Titans, sitting at 1-10, the worst record in the NFL. The Titans played well, though. They had a close game, only lost by 6 to the Sea Chickens. Ward, he was 28 of 42, 256 yards, 1 touchdown, sacked 4 times, continuing to struggle behind that O-line. Ward also led the team in receiving, in rushing yards, 6 attempts for 37 yards and a rushing touchdown. Helm, he had 6 receptions, 51 yards. I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, but Dickey? I'm gonna say it's Dickey and not Dick or Dyke. So I'm going to go Dickey here. 5 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown. He also had a punt return touchdown. 6 of 17 on 3rd down for the Titans. 5 of 7 on 4th down, so that's good. They were down 30-10 at one point and also 23-3 at another point. Or so I should say, they were down 23-3 at one point, and then also they were down 30-10 at another point. And they were able to crawl their way back. So definitely an improvement for this Titans team. I was rooting for them. Honestly, it really was. Most because I hate the Sea Chickens, but you like to see that. You like to see a good effort from, especially from teams that are struggling. 6 straight losses now for the Titans. I'm going to go with the Jags here. I think that even though the Jags, if this is going to be a game the Titans are going to win, it'll be this one. But I'm going to go with the Jags here. I just think that they're just better. So I'm going to go with the Jags here. All right. And then we head to Seattle for the purple incarnation of Satan taking on the Seattle Sea Chickens. The Vikings getting crushed by the Packers. How glorious it is. Good triumphs over evil. The Vikings struggling big time against the Packers. Big time. J.J. McCarthy, 12 of 19, 87 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdown passes, sacked 5 times. He is now in concussion protocol. For at some point, he got hurt. I don't know. Maybe that's why he looks so bad at some points, but whatever. If he can't go, it'll be Boomser. Or Boomser. He'll play. He'll start. Of course, we'll see if JJ passes concussion protocol. Jordan Mason led the team in rushing yards. 8 attempts for 42 yards. Jonesy, 9 attempts, 41 yards. Jonesy's still not able to get in the end zone at Lambeau, which is good. Still hate to see him in purple. I just hope this is last year's a Viking and he comes home. Justin Jefferson limited to only 48 yards on 4 receptions. I kind of feel bad for Justin Jefferson. Another great wide receiver wasting his career in Minnesota. Of course, Price had that fumble. Zane Anderson pushed him into it, and Zane Anderson recovered on that punt at the beginning of the 3rd quarter. Turner had a sack. The Vikings were 2 of 9 on 3rd down and 0 for 1 on 4th down. That 4th down coming early in the game. They were not able to convert. Probably should have just taken a field goal there, but whatever. The Vikings, not well. Not great. It's not great, Bob. I don't want to rip on J.J. McCarthy too bad. This was only his 6th or 7th start in the NFL. So I don't want to rip on him too much. But I'm going to because he's a Viking. I think the Vikings probably should have stuck around with Sam Darnold for at least another season. Allowed J.J. to learn behind Darnold for another year. You would have been able to actually take reps in practice and be able to move around a little bit, get some passes and stuff. I think that's what they should have done. But the Vikings are a horribly run organization, so no shocker there. And they'll be taking on the Sea Chickens, who are coming off a close win to the Titans. So let's see if this is going to be a Sam Darnold revenge game. Darnold in that game against Tennessee was 16 of 26, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, sacked just once. 0 interceptions thrown, which is better than throwing 4 the week before. Walker, he had 11 attempts for 71 yards. Charbonnet, he had a rushing touchdown. JSN, 8 receptions, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has now passed the Sea Chicken franchise single season receiving yards record. So congratulations, JSN. And he did it by week 12. So he's going to keep adding to that. JSN is insane. And I can't believe the Packers passed him up and picked LVN over JSN. But whatever. I'm not going to sit here and complain. 4 sacks for the Sea Chicken defense. 2 of 7 on third. 0 for 1 on fourth down. 11 total penalties. Got to get that cleaned up. I'm going to take the Sea Chickens here. I'm going to take them in the Sam Darnold revenge game. Of course, even whether J.J. McCarthy plays or not, the Sea Chickens are better than the Vikings. So I'm going to go with the Sea Chickens to get the dub. All right. Then we have the Raiders taking on the Bolts. The Raiders suck. The Raiders suck. 5th straight loss to the Cleveland Browns. 5th straight loss. Cleveland Browns took them down. They fired their OC Chip Kelly after the game. It took you 12 weeks, but okay. Geno Smith, not bad. 30 of 44. 285 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 fumble. Sacked 10 times. Not great. Obviously, crappy O-line doesn't help you. Genty, he had 17 attempts for 50 yards, 8 receptions, 58 yards on that, and a receiving touchdown. Lockett, he had 4 receptions for 62 yards. They only got to Shedeur once. 1 interception, 1 forced fumble. 4 of 17 on third. That's horrible. 1 of 3 on fourth down. And 13 penalties for 109 yards. So this is falling apart for the Raiders right now. Absolutely falling apart. Max Crosby is wasting his career in Vegas. And that means he should come to play for the Green Bay Packers and team up with Micah and Rashawn Gary. I mean, a guy can dream, right? I dreamed about Micah and we got him, so maybe we could get Max Crosby too. But the Raiders, they'll be taking on the Bolts, your division rival. The Bolts are coming off a bye. Last time we saw them, they got wrecked by the Jags. Herbert, obviously struggling behind that O-line. Joe Alt is hurt. Of course, I don't know if he's going to play this week. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Of course, I'm filming this Tuesday night, so I'm not going to know. We don't have that update yet. Last time we saw him, like I said, got rocked by the Jags. Herbert was 10 for 18 in that game for 81 yards. Sacked twice, 1 interception. Trey Lance came into that game after Herbert got hurt. 3 of 8 for 37 yards. Herbert also led the team in rushing yards on just 3 attempts for 21 yards. Keenan Allen, 4 receptions, 53 yards. 3 for 12 on third in that game and 1 for 3 on fourth in that game. I'm going to go with the Bolts here. I think the Raiders are just awful, and I expect the Bolts now with another extra week to heal up and recoup, get back to the drawing board. I'm going to take the Bolts here in L.A. Then we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bills coming off a rough game on Thursday night in Houston. Josh Allen, 24 of 34, 253 yards. No touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 8 times. James Cook was limited. Was not limited at least. So 12 attempts, or 17 attempts, 116 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. Shakir, he had 8 receptions, 110 yards, but fumbled the ball. Davis, he had a kickoff return touchdown, and they were 5 of 16 on third. At one point late in the game, the Bills were running on 4th down. Did not work. And you could see Josh Allen, when he went to the bench, look at Trubisky and just say, what the hell are we doing? The Bills, I don't know, man. The Bills are weird because, like, I like to think that the Bills are really, really good. But then you have games like this, and then you have that game against Miami, and you wonder, what is going on? Like, are the Bills good or not? I just don't know. I just don't know. They'll be taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who lost to the Bears on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers did not play. Of course, he had that small fracture in his left wrist. I think, like I said, I think the Steelers would have won had they had Aaron. But Mason Rudolph played in his stead. He was 24 of 31, 171 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked twice. Gainwell, he had 92 yards on the ground. Warren and Metcalf both had a rushing touchdown. Austin, he had 4 receptions for 36 yards. Farmouth, he had a receiving touchdown. The Steelers are optimistic that Aaron Rodgers will be able to play on Sunday against the Bills. I'm really torn on this game. In one way, I think that the Bills should win this game, especially depending on what Steelers team shows up. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers runs the offense really, really well for the most part for the Steelers. I'm actually going to go with the... I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to go with the Bills to get a good bounce-back victory against the Steelers. This should be a fun game in Sunday afternoon, so I'm going to go with the Bills here. Then we had the Sunday night game, the Denver Broncos taking on the Washington Commies. The Broncos coming off a bye, 8 straight wins now. Last game we saw them play, it was a close win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Bo Nix in that game, 24 for 37, 295 yards. McLaughlin, he had 6 attempts for 19 yards and a touchdown. Franklin, 4 receptions, 84 yards. They did have 1 interception and 1 sack on Patrick Mahomes. I like the Broncos. I think their defense is very, very good. Their offense, I don't know. I can't tell. 1 week they're kind of like the Bills. 1 week they play, their offense is very, very good, and then the next week the offense barely does anything. So they're kind of a weird team. I think they definitely deserve to be 9-2. They're definitely very, very good. One of the best teams in the AFC. They're just their offense. I don't trust their offense just yet. I trust their defense, but not their offense. They're going to be taking on the Commies, who are struggling big time. 6 straight losses. Of course, they were in a bye last time we saw them. They lost to the Dolphins in Madrid. Mariota was 20 for 30 in that game. 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Rodriguez Jr., he had 15 attempts for 71 yards. Debo, 7 receptions, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Looking at a little bit of research that I did, said that the Commies said that it was very unlikely that Jaden Daniels plays in this game. I don't think it matters. I'm going to go with the Broncos here to get the dub. I just think the Commies are just kind of a shell of what they were last year. Of course, they had that miracle run at the end of the year. And that sucks. That really sucks. I had a lot of expectations for the Commies this year, and it's just, they've been beaten down by injuries for the most part, and it just sucks. The injury bug really sucks. I'm going to go with the Broncos here. I would say if Jaden Daniels was going to play, maybe it's a little different, but I think the Broncos' defense is just too good. They're just too good, so I'm going to go with the Broncos here on Sunday night. to get the dub. All right, then last game, Monday Night Football. We have a Super Bowl rematch. 2 Super Bowl rematch here. The New York Giants taking on the New England Patriots. The Giants coming off a close loss to the Blue Kitties on Sunday. Took overtime, and they played pretty well, but just could not contain Jahmyr Gibbs there at the end. Jameis Winston, he was 18 of 36, 366 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also had 1 receiving touchdown, which is pretty cool. Tracy Jr., 20 attempts on the ground for 62 yards. Robinson, he had 9 receptions, 156 yards, and a touchdown. Hodgins, he also had a receiving touchdown. Holland, he had an interception, 3 sacks on Jared Goff. Unfortunately, with this 6th straight loss, they were eliminated from playoff contention. The first team to be eliminated from the playoffs. They fired their DC after this game, so that's not good. This was another game that the Giants should have won, but they were not able to keep the lead. They got a tough matchup here, taking on the now current number 1 seed in the AFC, the New England Patriots, who are on a 9-game win streak. The Patriots are coming off a win against the Bengals. Drake May, he was 22 of 35, 294 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and sacked just once. Henderson, 18 attempts on the ground for 66 yards. Henry, he had 7 receptions, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Marcus Jones had an interception in that game. The Pats were 5 of 13 on 3rd down and 0 for 2 in the red zone. That game was a lot closer than what I thought, what a lot of people probably thought, but they were able to get the job done and, contain what was left of the Bengals offense in that game. I'm not going to talk too much about this game. I think this is a blowout for the Pats. I think Jameis Winston's still going to play. I don't know where that's at yet. I don't know if you obviously don't want to rush Jackson Dart back now that you're eliminated from the playoffs, but you still want to get him some reps. So we'll see. I think regardless of whether it's Winston or it's Jackson Dart, I don't see them winning this game. I'm going to go with the Patriots here to get the dub on Monday night. So that's all the games that we have for this week 13. Like I said, it's a full slate. No buys this week. Full weekend of football. I hope all of you, if you stayed to the end of this video, I hope that you all have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. Spend time with your loved ones, and your friends and your family. If you go out Black Friday shopping, be careful. Don't get in any crazy mobs or fights over televisions or toilet paper or whatever people fight over nowadays. I have no idea. I personally don't do Black Friday shopping. I'm not getting up early for that. A lot of people do a lot of shopping online now, so I don't see Black Friday really being a thing for much longer. But I hope you guys all have a very blessed holiday, very good holiday. Spend time with your loved ones, and then I'll see you on Thursday for the Packers recap. Hopefully it'll be a dub, but thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack, go.